This is section 5.4, writing equations in standard form. All linear equations can actually be written in standard form. The form is ax plus by equals c, and here a, b, and c are all numbers. The tricky part is that a and b have to be whole numbers here. So a, b, and c are numbers, but a and b have to be whole. Equations in standard form are equivalent if they have common factors in a, b, and c. So, for example, if we write an equation in standard form that's equivalent to 2x minus 6y equals 4, any multiple of those coefficients would work. So you could multiply the entire equation by the same number. It could be any number, 2, 5, 8, 200, it doesn't matter. So here I'm going to multiply by 2, so I have 2 times 2x minus 2 times 6y equals 2 times 4. So 4x minus 12y equals 8 is an equivalent equation. This really comes into play when you have fractional coefficients in front of x and y, and you need to multiply them by something to get those coefficients to be whole numbers. So we'll be using this a lot more later in the book. You also have to be able to write an equation in standard form from a graph. So you can start from either slope-intercept form or point-slope form, but the first thing you have to do is look at the graph, find 2 points, and find the slope. So in this line that you see in the graph at the bottom, you can see the 2 points are 1, 1, and 2, negative 2. So when I calculated the slope, I found the slope was negative 3. That makes sense because the line is dropping from left to right. Then you can write it in point-slope form. So I took one of the points, the 1, 1, and wrote y minus 1 equals negative 3 times x minus 1. All you have to do to rewrite this in standard form is to bring all the x and y terms to the left-hand side of the equation. Just make sure the x terms come before the y terms. So here I have y minus 1 equals negative 3x plus 3, or 3x plus y equals 4. That is the standard form of this line. Horizontal and vertical lines are a little bit trickier because for a horizontal line the equation is always y equals a, where a is some number, and for a vertical line the equation is always x equals b, where b is a number. You can't write either one of these equations in point-slope form or slope-intercept form because they have no slope. You can only write them in standard form. So for example, if you look at this graph, we have a horizontal line going through y equals negative 4. It has a slope of 0. So if you try to write that in slope-intercept form, you get y equals 0x minus 4, or in this case, y equals negative 4. That is standard form. Completing the equation, sometimes you're given a partial equation in standard form and you need to finish it. So here they're going to give you the equation ax plus 3y equals 2 with a given point. The point is negative 1, 0, and you have to solve for a given the point. So we're going to take those coordinates for x and y and substitute them in the equation and solve for a. So you just write a times negative 1 plus 3 times 0 equals 2. You get the opposite of a equals 2, so a equals negative 2. You then substitute that value for a back into the original equation so that you get negative 2x plus 3y equals 2. This is now an equation in standard form. So this is pretty simple. You're just solving for the one variable you don't have, and you're using the point that you are given. It's very similar to when we were solving for the y-intercept in y equals mx plus b. Remember, at that point we had the slope and we had a point, but we didn't know the intercept. We solved for b. Well, in this case, the only thing you don't have is the coefficient of a, so we'll substitute the point value in and we will solve for a. Now you can use this in word problems all the time. The word problem that they give as an example is this field trip, where your school has small vans and large vans to take students on a field trip. And if you know the small van holds 8 students and the large van holds 12 students, and you can fill 15 small vans and 2 large vans, how many students in total do you have? Well, the first thing you have to do is set up the equation, and standard form works really well here, because you know that the number of students a van holds times the number of vans will equal the total number of students going on the trip. So if you set S equal to the number of small vans and L equal to the number of large vans, then 8s plus 12l would equal p, where p is the total number of people. Now, since you can fill 15 small and 2 large, you can substitute those values and get the total number of students. So you would multiply 8 times 15 and add that to 12 times 2 to get the total number of people, which is 144. And actually, you could have done that in your head. But why we did that was to find out what that c is in the standard form equation, because the equation now becomes 8s plus 12l equals 144. And you can use this equation to find all possible combinations that would work here. If you graph it using the x and y intercepts, you could find all the whole numbers that would work, and only whole numbers because you only want to have full vans.